Stephen Shaff. Today's guest is the founder and CEO of Community Vision Solutions. He is a social entrepreneur who combines expertise as a housing and community developer, political activist, and social solution strategist to build scalable economic equality solutions. He'll share insights about his work and his superpower. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe. Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show, where we empower you. Steve, welcome. It's a thrill to catch up with you here at the Super Crowd.
Thanks, Devin. I'm really glad to be here and look forward to the conversation.
Yeah, it's been so fun. You attended Super Crowd 22 last year, and since then we've had an opportunity to become well acquainted. And I count you as a friend, and I'm grateful for the work that you're doing. And so you're in the process now of spooling up Community Vision Solutions, Benefit LLC. Tell us about your vision for this new company.
Well, Community Vision Solutions LLC is a startup, but it's based on 35 years of my experience working in a cross-sector kind of way, improving communities. I started out as an affordable housing developer, and then quickly learned that, rebuilding communities requires much more than just housing. It requires arts and it's building a sense of community and a lot of other things that need to come together, job creation, so on, et cetera. So we founded Community Vision Solutions last year as a startup, and our goal is to initiate, facilitate, and agitate for the common good. So we are a social consultancy. We provide service collaborative for our partners on the ground. We're activists and we're also investors. So our goal is to work closely with community-based organizations that, based on our paradigm, just don't have the resources, the business savvy, or the ability to stand up to the market forces or capital or resources from outside initiatives that are not necessarily for the common good.
Yeah. What are some examples of projects that you want to undertake at Community Vision Solutions?
Well, again, this is based on all these years of my work, and I always thought, that small nonprofit or the faith-based organization that we rely on to help create affordable housing or preserve the community and the arts, which is an incredibly important part of our culture and our ability to cross racial lines and a whole bunch of other things. It just needed much more of a mechanism to succeed. So an example of what we've done is, the typical arts organization that gets that phone call from the landlord saying, guess what? Thank you for improving our community. Now we're going to be putting the property up for the market. Well, instead of that, the arts organization, bemoaning the fact that they got to pack up and move from the community they help create, we work with them to find solutions. Can we put together a coalition or network of investors, developers, or other community stakeholders, so that nonprofit that may not have any money or resources or capacity to do this, can we create a joint venture that would preserve that property, buy the property, and then develop that in a way that benefits the community? One example, a couple of years ago, just as the pandemic was kicking off, involved an arts organization that had been there for years and was a real anchor. Gentrification forces in the DC area were phenomenal. And we said, look, I think we could bring, together the capital, find the pre-developed money to determine whether this is a feasible project. So long story short, as an affordable housing developer myself, I know where some good mission developers are out there that would partner up with this little nonprofit that had the ability to tie up this multi-million-dollar property, because we were working with them and we helped find the money to tie up the property. And then once they had the property under control, then we invited investors and developers to take a look at it. And the ones we work with recognize, okay, we could partner up with this little arts organization, give them a little bit of the equity. We'll do the housing part, which based on our numbers would be a good investment. And then we'll have a partner on our property that would be basically a campus of affordable or arts housing, arts activities, which are great for communities, and extra space to house business incubators or other things. So in other words, that arts organization, instead of getting displaced, is now going to be a part owner of a project that would really be a campus, an epicenter to impact that entire community. So that's an example.
Yeah.
And that kind of model is something we took and created our signature initiative, which I call the Community Alliance Project. And it's literally that. How can we align ourselves with community stakeholders and create projects like this that don't get torn from the communities, but actually become an alternative to market forces that come in? And by the way, I have no objection to market forces, earning profits, but we need alternatives where something like this could happen, because we put together the expertise, the political and community mechanisms, the nonprofit mechanisms, so on, et cetera, attracted social investors. So fast forward, we found that crowdfunding is a tool that is relatively new that we want to inject into this kind of opportunity for maybe smaller scale kind of projects, small businesses that can, especially in Black communities, that can be created to take advantage of the phenomenal growth in waste to management kind of recycling businesses that could be set up with wraparound collaborators can help provide the blueprint of how you set up a computer or appliance warehouse remanufacturing organization, and crowdfunding can provide the capital to set these kind of businesses up, which can employ local employees, which can help house people in the communities they live and work in, and if they're in a community like we were just talking about with the arts organization, their kids can go to that arts organization and really discover strengths with themselves that unfortunately they don't find in our schools today. Because I don't know about your community, but DC area, school arts and music programs, and in some cases sports programs, are cut.
Yeah.
So there's a
As
better
you
way to do this.
Yeah. It's brilliant to see that your vision for what community vision solutions will be. As we get ready for Supercrowd 23, which is coming right up, you're going to be leading a panel discussion about social entrepreneurship. Tell us a little bit about your vision for that discussion.
Well, as much as I'm an idealist, I know in order to satisfy my idealism, you got to be realistic. So I always, when I first started out, I would go into these communities, and I started out back in the 80s when, a lot of the language we know now, like, social responsibility wasn't part of the nomenclature. I would have to announce to people, I'm a for-profit developer with a nonprofit mission. Like, the nonprofits were wary of me, the investors were wary of me, but after a while, the investors were like, wow, this guy's finding all these really good deals that we never heard of. The nonprofits saying, wow, this guy's been like saying this and he's actually doing this. My whole point here is, I think change, it can be better driven by social enterprise, partnering with those that we as a society rely on to keep our communities healthy, faith-based communities, nonprofits, so on, et cetera, who all are incredibly under-resourced. And the paradigm they're working under is absolutely flawed and has been for generations. So what's a way to recognize that rebuilding our communities is a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, let alone a moral imperative too, by the way. So how can we use social enterprise to go in there, work with nonprofits and our community stakeholders in a way that provides a real alternative to the status quo, profit-driven at any cost? Let's rebuild communities that have no, texture or character, and let's destroy the character that these communities used to have, especially in the Black communities. So our perspective is social enterprise as a better way to create this change, and needs to be created or scaled to be able to compete against the status quo. Now, problem though is, in my experience, most mission-driven, nice, business people out there still have that need to make money. So the point is, How do we have a social enterprise strength that preserves the integrity of the social mission? And that's where it took me literally a couple decades to show that, okay, I'm strange. People before profit for us was not a motto. It was true. I could demonstrate that a couple times where I chose people over profit, and I I suffered. But I look at that as not a failure. I look at it as you can do this, and with integrity, with treating people with dignity, particularly in communities that never get treated with dignity, BIPOC, underserved communities, all throughout America. If we create these partnerships and bring the tools, resources, and that's the way to do it. And then what happens then is more conventional businesses will look at it and say, hey, they're making money doing this way. Maybe we should start changing. Maybe we should stop mining, for coal, and really start speeding up our conversion to what's inevitable, and we'll have a market for that. We'll still be profitable, and we'll still be in business. So my whole point here is social enterprise with an equal mission for financial and social returns can happen. And it is a huge opportunity that I'm just wondering when everyone else is going to discover this. Well, it is being discovered slowly, but too slow. And we need to mobilize capital, the passion, the experience, the people on the ground, the people power. I've seen this over 35 years of doing this, of several communities that people were afraid to go into, and now are not only healthy, but they were rebuilt by the community that was there. Those that we were able to get to soon enough. There's others where, entire corridors in DC, it's like, forget it. It just gentrified over 2 or 3 years. We're like the East Coast version of San Francisco. Everything in DC is gentrified. It's not Chocolate City anymore like it was when I lived here, first moved here, which is really cool. DC had a very proud Chocolate City character, and now it's still, not a great deal of Black culture and BIPOC and Latino culture, but the lament is that it's dwindling, and we're running out of ways to preserve, healthy communities that really serve the common good.
Yeah, it's going to be a great discussion. I'm excited for your panel discussion at SuperCrowd 23. It's going to be great. As I look at your career, you have really done and accomplished a lot, and you have achieved, really tremendous wisdom and insights. I really respect your opinions. I've learned to really value you as a key part of my network. What do you see as your superpower?
I had a feeling you'd ask this question. I thought about it. And when I first started hearing or learning about you or listening to your podcast, I thought, that's kind of, a silly question. I thought, no, not really, because people like us who don't follow the normal, let's get a 9 to 5 job, nothing wrong with that. There's got to be superpower, whether it's tenacity or fortitude or, I don't know, a degree of stupidity. Why do we keep going through this path, even though we could have made so much more money this way? So I thought about that. I thought, well, maybe it's because, maybe my superpower is I got perspective, this and that and the other. But over the years, I heard this so many times that people I knew that knew everyone, who, of course, usually people you admire and do great things, they would say, they would turn around to me and say, you know everyone. I'm like, no, you know everyone. Then I realized, wait a minute, So, I thought, okay, I agree. I'm a connector, but my superpower is, one of my associates said to me, no, you're not quite a connector. I said, what? He said, you're a weaver. I thought, weaver? I thought he called me weasel. He said, no, you're a weaver because what you do is beyond a connector role. You connect people and think about and you get some things done. And I thought, are you kidding me? My whole career, I've been scraping and scrapping. Again, my principles prevented me from being super rich. Not that I needed to be super rich. And I thought, well, and I look back on my career, it's like, yeah, everything that I started, initiated, facilitated, or agitated for, with the exception of my own housing business, which got blown to smithereens in the housing complex crisis, I realized that he's right. And that's a superpower. And, my friend, you are a superpower too, because weavers bring people together and people then make things happen. And in many cases, weavers don't leave any fingerprints or don't get the credit. I started some really cool things like 20, 25 years ago, And I'm so proud of these things that are still here and have made my own community, literally my own community, better and this, that. And hardly anyone knows my role in being the spark to all this. And at first, when I was a little younger, it's like, man, I want credit. But I realized, no, no, no. The fact of the matter is my whole community has changed. There's thousands of children in my neighborhood now that are so much better off, the whole community. I don't have to have that. So my whole point here is weavers get stuff done and they have this certain impatience to get even more done. So I guess that's my super,
Yeah.
and they'll keep pounding and pounding and pounding away.
Yeah.
As you notice, I'm a little in my senior years, and I can't imagine not doing this until, I have no breath left. And I think that's
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah, that's a great superpower. And I believe it too. I see it as I've gotten to know you, I see you weaving together a magnificent tapestry of people and organizations to achieve great things. And so I'm excited about what you're going to do with that superpower. Now, as you look back though, can you think of a specific example you could share with us of when you used your weaving to accomplish something you're proud of?
how much time do we have? Uh, so again, referring back to what I was just saying is, uh, there's been a number of things. And by the way, the other thing that I'm really proud of, and I didn't realize was unique, is after the housing market blew up in DC, I was literally in the worst neighborhoods, organizing, getting rid of crime, all this sort of thing, because I had all these great relationships and networks, and doing this. And then we were going to, after the housing, creating a couple hundred housing home ownership opportunities. So we're going to be working on the commercial side of things, et cetera, et cetera. I guess my biggest accomplishment was when we took one of the most nasty drug infested neighborhoods, and over a 3 or 4 year period, literally came in there and put it together. Now, here's a white boy going in the hood. And I knew for a fact that any white boy going in the hood, no matter how wonderful you think you are, is always going to be, received with the skepticism. So I guess the best thing that I was able to do was demonstrate to folks that, one, first of all, you got to you have to treat everyone with respect, dignity, and communicate. So I'd go into the communities with some back track record and say, look, I'm here not to help you people, which is absolutely offensive, but it's let's work together, and you have to be the leaders, and I'll bring some of the stuff together, and let's work together. And if I stray from that, then hit me upside the head. So I guess what I'm saying is, even in the most unusual circumstances, this white boy, I've lived and worked in these communities almost all my life. So it's kind of fun, defying that image. But I guess the point I'm making is, combining all these sectors together. So after housing, here's my point. So after the housing blow up, and for us it was 2000, a little bit early, because we were literally in the worst parts of the community. We were the first to get wiped out. A friend of mine said, I said, well, everything's blown up, and I don't want to go work for the man, so to speak, and I'm going to stick to my principles, which basically means I'm going to be, scraping. And he reminded me that I've worked in so many different sectors, and basically had 3 careers: an activist, affordable housing developer, which is really tough business, and a few others. And he said, you've done so many things, you have too many choices right now, which he was true. I guess what I would say then is, I'm most proud of the fact that I've been able to work deeply within these sectors, both deep into communities, but also on a national basis. Living in DC, wonderful city, despite its problems. It is a wonderful city. It's also, if you might have heard, the capital city. So literally, I was very plugged into the real deep grassroots organizing. And the same afternoon, I could be on the Hill, literally talking with, progressive Congress people who, were trying to beat back some of the authoritarian, ideas that we're struggling with now. So I guess what I'm saying is, and that kind of relates to, that arts organization I helped create in my own community that has literally transformed our community, created a couple $100 million in activity. Or the housing project in on Brandywine Street, where we literally transformed an entire drug-infested neighborhood, or plugging in with people that have a great business and job creating activities that we want to help bring to the entire nation. with our next generation once we raise some of our own capital to create the capacity to build this out. So
Yeah. Well, it's fantastic. Now, Steve, as you think about weaving as a talent, a skill, a superpower, how would you coach someone? So you've got a team you're building. How would you coach your team members to employ this, to expand your ability to weave by having them weaving too? How would you coach them to weave?
I think the best way to really move things forward, especially as complicated as community revitalization, is make sure everyone works to their strength and their desire. I'm horrible at administration. I can do it, but please take everything on. So let me work to my strength. What is your strength, and what gets you jazzed every day to not only get motivated to work hard for something that is not easy. We're not picking easy. And how do we do it all the way where it's coordinated and we're literally all of us we're working to our full strength and creating a sense of purposefulness. I've attracted some really good collaborators who want to work with me because they were doing okay with what we're doing, but they look at what we've put together here and realize, wow, I can not only generate hopefully decent income once we raise capital, but it'll be real purpose. And a lot of people don't recognize how important a meaningful and purposeful occupation is. So that to me is very important, that everyone is literally invested in the way they want to be invested. And that's I think how we make progress. Trying to have someone do something they really don't want to be doing every day, we have very little room for that kind of inefficiency. And plus, I don't want to make someone do something they really don't want to do. Let's find someone who just loves paperwork, for example. And there's some people that are great administrators. Great, you do that. I'm more of a people person. Aaron Shalom, who's my young CEO, has tremendous talents that clone me, and he's of the next generation. So all of my networks and all that stuff will be conveyed to him, so that one day when I'm no longer here, he has these networks. So yeah, so the idea here is how do we bring people together and make sure everyone is as passionate as I feel working this, because you're kind of like doing this on my behalf. It's like, well, if you're going to do that, then let's make sure everyone gets a piece. And by the way, Community Vision Solutions aspires to be an employee-owned shop as well. Again, if you're going to come in here and help me achieve my mission and provide some financial benefit for me, then everyone's got to get a piece of this. And that's how I think then the whole pie gets bigger, and that's how we scale.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Steve, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Before we wrap up, I want to invite you to take a minute and tell people how they can learn more about Community Vision Solutions and how they can connect with you.
Well, my whole career, I've never really marketed or self-promoted, so we're not exactly the most polished branded organization right now. So the direct way to find out about us is go to our website, c-v-solutions.com. You'll have enough information there. Check us out on LinkedIn. You'll get a little more information there. And if you're interested, reach out to us. We'll share some information. We're very interested in hearing about what you are doing, because again, we all need to work together. So those are two ways. We'll be building out our social media throughout the year, and next year, of course, we'll have all the branding tools we would need. But right now, it's all word of mouth, reputation, and frankly, our information is relatively minimal. So c-v-solutions.com. Check it out and reach out. Love to hear from you, because we are Uber collaborators.
That is true. That is true. So well said. Well, Steve, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. We wish you every success in growing Community Vision Solutions and making it into a full realization of your vision.
Thank you, Devin. Appreciate it. We'll be doing launching our own crowdfunding in the next month or so. We're working with some great pioneers in the area. Jenny Casson is our attorney and we're going to be using Main Street crowdfunding. Michael Schumann. We have a whole bunch of really great senior advisors. Check us out, and let's work together to change the world. We can generate income and social benefits at the same time. So let's do it.
All righty. Thanks a bunch,
Devin.
Steve.
Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Now let's do some good. Thank you for tuning in to the Superpowers for Good show. Twice each week, we host changemakers who share their impact, insights, and superpowers. Don't miss another episode. Subscribe today at superpowersforgood.com. That's superpowers, good.com. Be super empowered. Get your copy of the book, Superpowers for Good, as an ebook, audiobook, paperback, or hardcover edition via your favorite online retailer. Interested in having me speak to your company, organization, or association? Visit devinthorpe.com. Then let's talk. Now, keep using your superpowers for good. Together, we can reverse climate change, improve global health, and eradicate poverty.